Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third or fourth development Devblog AMA and beer drinking session. So this AMA is going to be a bit different than the other ones because in previous AMAs I've had pre-recorded footage that I prepared, and in this one I'm actually just playing the game and talking to you live. So the main topics I want to be touching on this month, a lot of work has been done, and I'll touch on some of those areas. However, the main thing I want to discuss today is what we call machines right now. There'll be some better title for it in game. However, what machines are is stuff like your oxygen producers, your heaters, your etc. So stuff like this. So this is an arc furnace. In here you place a battery to run it, because at the moment in the Mars 1 version of the game, everything will run on these universal batteries. But for example, you put a battery in, put some iron ore in, turn it on, it'll start using the energy from the battery and producing iron ingots from, it worked. It's like, so what I'm going to be discussing today is not just all the machines that we have working and ignore the fact it's on fire. That is, we'll call that a feature, not a bug. What we're going to be doing today is walking you through all the different machines that we have working in the game right now, and also discuss their entire production pipeline, from the game design elements of figuring out what machines we want to have and why we want each one, to the concepting phase. I'll show you the concept art for them, and then the end product of each one of those passes is the final machine that you have in game. So let's start out by jumping into the concept art for each one. So we're going to start with the arc furnace, which for those of you who know what an arc furnace is on Earth, it's the way most metalloids are processed from raw ores into final ingots or into a usable material. It's actually quite interesting how they work. Basically, if you take two electrical leads and get them close to each other, how a spark will jump between the two. That spark is also ridiculously hot, and an arc furnace is a massive, massive machine that superheats metals using that phenomenon scaled up to a massive scale. So what we have here is is kind of our more scaled down portable version of an arc furnace. Obviously, like, as we're still in development, the visuals will improve a lot, and there'll be a lot more animations. For example, as you notice in the concept art, the area on the left, you have an ore deposit, which is where you would put the raw ores into, and then the control rods are those 3 bars along the top, which once fully animated would be lowering down into the smelting furnace itself and heating up and glowing. Whereas in game, as you guys saw, at the moment they're just completely glowing, and the kind of the doors here are not animated, and this other door isn't animated, nor is the little screen here. However, as you can see, it works. Now, the next problem, this battery is going to run out pretty soon, so we're going to need a way to charge the batteries. So that brings us to here, the hydrogen generator. Now, this is a machine that you input hydrogen, which has been processed from waters or from other elements of the environment collected from the atmosphere. And you will take that item, that resource, and put it into this generator, and then this generator will burn that hydrogen, producing electrical energy. And in the Mars 1, version, like the first playable version of the game, it will charge batteries with that energy. Later on, this is actually going to be changed to a wired generator. So you would build this hydrogen generator. So here it is in game. At the moment, as I said, you put hydrogen in, which at the moment we're just calling fuel. As I said, placeholder stuff, placeholder names. And then you put in an empty battery, turn it on, starts burning the fuel, charging the battery. At the moment, it's charging batteries, but what we will be doing in Mars 2, so the second playable version that we'll be putting out, is this specific generator will actually be a wired system where, you're trying to see it here, those are 6 outlets, and you will connect this generator directly to the arc furnace. And then the arc furnace will be running on the power that this generator is providing via burning the hydrogen. So from Mars 2 onwards, the arc generator wouldn't run on batteries. It would run by an electrical system that you would connect it up to this kind, like this generator or solar generators or fusion generators, etc. For those of you who were here last stream, I think it was, we showed you a placeholder oxygen generator which looked like a toilet. Since then, we decided that we needed to actually properly redesign it. So this is the new oxygen generator. It is mounted on walls. So you put it as high up the wall. If you build a base where like the internal environment of a specific room is like 3 walls high, you can put this anywhere along the wall that you want to. The idea also being, in terms of design language, you'll notice there's kind of 3 segments. There's the bottom segment, the middle flat segment, and then there's the top segment. For future machines that we build into walls, we're going to follow this style of design language where there'll be a bottom large segment that takes up about 50%, and then 30%, and then 20% in this arrangement. I guess it's really hard to explain the logic behind that design language without actually having my tablet connected and be able to draw stuff for you, but it's good design principles to follow a consistent design language for stuff that's placed on walls. Yeah. In a future AMA, I'll have our lead concept artist on with me, and we can actually discuss this stuff in more detail. So you can't turn it on if it physically can't hold an atmosphere. So, assuming I'm a competent developer, it should work now. Bam! Yes. So right now it's filling the room with oxygen. That's why the light's red. It is working, and you'll see it's like burning battery power. And when it's green, now the room is filled with oxygen. And you'll notice that the oxygen counter in the bottom left of my suit has stopped going down. It stayed at 508 centiliters. So, but if I open the door, it will break the atmospheric, the air tightness of the room. And you see, now there's no light anymore, and my suit's oxygen has continued going down again. So, let me close the door, and turn it back on again. And you guys also just realized why you need airlocks, and why airlocks are a good idea. Because the larger the room is, the longer it takes to pressurize, and the oxygen producer, the atmosphere producer, burns a lot more energy while it's trying to pressurize a room versus maintaining it. So once the light goes green, and now it's just maintaining the room pressure, it's burning 1/10 the energy that it does in that initial stage. So now, oxygen generator is still on. Can we close this door? Can I see it through the window? Okay, yeah, you can see the oxygen generator is still on. That other room is still pressurized. The room I'm in, though, is not. Notice I'm losing atmosphere, like I'm losing my suit's oxygen right now. It's at like 386 and going down. If I open this door, stops, because now I'm part of this pressurized room. Okay, so close it, and then open the exterior door. And you see, that interior room is still pressurized. So through that whole time, that interior room never lost its pressurization, because the airtight system works. Alright, here is that battery charger. It can charge 8 batteries at a time, and the idea is that you hook that up to the hydrogen generator, and that's what allows you to charge stuff. Next thing I'm going to show you guys is the fabricator. This is what's used to craft most of the machines that you've seen, and also stuff like the blueprint, the building tool and upgrading tool, and oxygen generators, all this stuff are built with a fabricator. And here is the fabricator, which once again runs on fuel. This is you remember the oxygen bottles that I've been using to refill my suit's oxygen? This is the machine that refills those oxygen bottles, which we don't have in game yet, but we probably will in the next couple days. And this will run on batteries, and it will introduce the oxygen bottle you see on the right. It will, oh, you don't see it because of chat. If I move chat here. Okay, see the oxygen bottle on the right? That will be introducing it to a new inventory item in the game, and that is what I was using to refill my suit's oxygen. And you'll put your empty oxygen bottles in this little like field generator along with a battery, and it can refill one oxygen bottle at a time, which means it's pretty slow and not very efficient. But this is meant as like the tier 0 oxygen system, oxygen solution. And then moving up from there, there'll be larger, more expensive stuff. But it's kind of assumed that any player will be able to scrounge the parts together to build this and get it up and running quite quickly. And this is super cool. I can't wait to get this working in the game. It's not in yet, but this will be the smallest solar panel, in the same way that the hydrogen generator in here can generate electricity, which in Mars 2 and onwards, you'll be able to like plug into other machines. This solar powered solar generator effectively will do the same thing. However, it will be limited by day-night cycles and stuff like dust storms. However, this specific one will be quite small. It won't generate a lot of energy, but as you can see here from the concept art, it can collapse in on itself and then bury itself underground, so it won't take damage from dust storms. There will be other solar panel options which may be more cost effective per watt of energy produced. However, they would be more susceptible to dust storm damage, which is it's a pretty big concern for the solar generators on Mars. Now I've just gone back. This is the same footage you guys saw in the last AMA. I just went back to playing this so that I can focus more on answering questions and discussing things versus playing the game. So a few other updates I want to discuss. I'm assuming most of you guys read the Devblog progress update about the Mars 1 version of the game, which will be the first single player version. So yeah, the first version, Mars 1, will be out fairly soon. We're on schedule for a Q2 release, and that will be a single player version of the game. It'll include all the systems you've seen so far, with a few more as well. The systems right now that we're finishing up for that version we're missing a few more machines, as I discussed. We're also in the final stages of getting the mining system working. And the way that will work is you will explore the environment around you, scan rocks to see what minerals they have inside of them, and then mine those rocks to get those like raw ores. You can mine any rock you want without scanning it first, but then you won't know what you're going to be getting, and it's very possible you'll be wasting a lot of your time and like battery and suit oxygen doing like breaking apart rocks that have nothing of value or nothing of interest to you. So the mining and scanning system work pretty well. They're about 60-70% done. They still need a lot more QA work. And the reason why I didn't show it to you right now is because we're sorting out the way that we scatter the mineable ore nodes, these mineable rocks throughout the map, like the logic to it, because you should find clusters of materials. There should be some things that are more common in different areas. So that is one of the main features that are still missing for Mars 1. Will it be possible to buy finished buildings without building them yourself? We may figure out some way to incorporate it, but in general, if you want something and you don't want to do it yourself, that's the beauty of pay-to-earn games, is that you give the community tools so they can pay other players to do it. So I would much rather create a better system for players to be able to pay other people to build their bases than just have them buy a pre-built prefab base from us. Will the time in the game run the same as clock in real world time? I'm assuming, yeah. No, it won't. We'll speed up the time in the game because, first of all, if we stuck with fully real world time, stuff like hunger and thirst would take ages to go down, and it's not really a consumable commodity anymore. And secondly, it would really suck for, let's say, if we used real world timing, so that the day-night cycle would be about 24 hours like it is on Mars, then someone who can only game for, let's say, 3 hours a day at a specific time segment, that time segment may just always be in the middle of the night, and they just get screwed because, well, that's where you live, that's your free time. So what we'll be doing is the day-night cycle, at least in Mars 1, we'll be testing this out, having the day-night cycle be 1 hour long, so there's about like 30 to 45 minutes of workable daylight, and then 15 minutes of full darkness when like the temperatures really drop the most. And that's what we'll be using in Mars 1, and we'll see how that plays. As I said, we'll see if that's fun, and based on your guys' feedback, we'll tweak it from there. But I'm pretty confident that we'll be sticking to that, or close to that. Will it be possible to walk on Mars like in Sand or Decentraland, where you just walk through without thinking about oxygen, food, and other things? And will it be a separate kind of world in some other way? No. You'll always... I think the unique thing that we are offering, like the key selling point of Mars, is that it is a fairly immersive Mars experience. So we obviously don't want to limit players so that they can't just walk around and explore. You will be able to, but you will need to have some minimum of investment of food and oxygen. But as you saw while I was playing, like, you have a lot of time actually. Oxygen burns a little bit too fast in this current version. But you do have a lot of time, and like buying a couple bottles of oxygen or crafting a couple just to go and walk around for ages, that's not going to be very limiting. It's not going to be hard to do. And in addition to that, we have vehicles as well. I imagine most exploration you'll be wanting to do in vehicles. And in vehicles, there'll be some vehicles that are more specifically catered to that, to being very fuel efficient, to being very economical. They don't have a lot of transport capacity, and they don't offer other bells and whistles, but they're just great for passively exploring the land and still gaining some value by that exploration, by finding rare resource nodes and stuff like that. So the goal is to not only let the player explore Mars kind of passively, but also be able to make a profit from that by finding things of value along the way. That's much more our goal. Tell us what exoskeletons will be. As I understand, in the first AMA, the player had an exoskeleton, and in the second, he was in a basic suit. Yes, there will be kind of two categories of exoskeleton. Their terminologies are not set right now. As I said, like, naming stuff isn't the most important part of game development. But there will be upgrades to your own suit, which is what you saw in the first AMA, where stuff that would let you carry more weight, move faster, etc. And then there will also be heavier exoskeletons, which are more bordering on mini mechs, which are used for mining and transporting of super heavy goods and stuff like that, but primarily used for mining. Like the highest tier of mining, we would assume would be done mostly with these kind of mini mechs. So I'm renting a plot, but then I decide that I want to play with it myself and terminate the lease. But the colonist has buildings there. Do I need to compensate them for them or something? That something also falls into what I was discussing before of the grander, just blanked out on the name, land governance system. So the idea is to give a framework to players where they can work out these details between each other. But primarily, like, the colonist wouldn't be linked to anything. Like, colonists can go anywhere and do whatever. So even if you kick them off your land, like, they can do whatever they want. What happens to the structures that the colonists built is complicated, because logically they would stay there. What we would probably do is, what we would expect to probably happen is that a termination of a lease would have X amount of time, and there would be like a buffer time, and the colonists would need to like destroy, well, not need to, but would be able to deconstruct what he built to get some raw resources back. For economy to function properly, there needs to be winners and losers. Please discuss the top 3 ways that players will lose Mars for dollars in the game. Oh, just like in real world economies, like the main way everyone loses is by paying for stuff that they need. So first one, paying for stuff that you need, like oxygen, water, food, etc. And then paying for stuff that you want, like vehicles and some rare resources, rare colonist upgrades, and all of the Mars $4 loss would be in purchasing stuff in the market. So the way that players lose is the same way players are gaining. But just like in the real world, it's not like your money doesn't just disappear for no reason. Like, you buy something with it and you're exchanging your money and you're losing some of your money and you're getting something else. Please discuss how and when players will be able to develop their own games. Will it be similar to Roblox, and how will these be integrated in the overall survival game? The ability for players to design their own mechanics in the experiences is very far off in the future. That's something after Mars 4. My priority is to make sure we first have a fun, functional play-to-earn game, and then be allowing players to be interacting and expanding on it in a step-by-step basis. So, like, first steps would just be creating items for the game, and like paint jobs for vehicles, decorations for people's buildings, and selling them on the market. That would be the first stage of player-built content, and then from there we'll go growing. But my priority is to get a good, enjoyable foundation for everyone, and because having something like Roblox only works once you've reached a critical mass of users, and if that critical mass dips for whatever reason, the game can just die out. So I believe in kind of a more classical philosophy in game design, where get something good and fun as a foundation that's always there, and then once you have that, then start letting people build on top of it. How will this work, considering the distance between colonies can extend thousands of miles, crossing different lands of different owners with different road systems? That's a real-world logistical problem that we want players to face. That's why you may want to consider using more vehicles that are more proficient off-road. But vehicles more proficient off-road will have other disadvantages. And that is why you should communicate with your neighbors, why you should try and organize with them, work together with them, set up your logistics so that they integrate together pretty seamlessly. How will roads from different lands and different owners be connected? Well, they'll just need to coordinate that I end my road here on my land, and well, you end yours more or less in the same place. I'm not expecting that each one will like flawlessly connect, but as long as it's like there's not much off-roading between the two, it's not really a problem. Colonists consume oxygen, food, water for life. If I don't play for a few days, will I die? No. When you're offline, your colonists are not taking damage from sandstorms or from food or water or whatever. What happens to the game world and our bases and colonists when we are not in the game for an extended period of time? They will be taking damage from sandstorms. However, the damage will be quite minimal, and that's one of the main motivators to upgrading your base to like higher structural tiers, is because they weather sandstorms better. So if you had a very low level base, like just a simple tier 1 base, that probably wouldn't last that long without any interaction. Whereas if you had an incredibly well upgraded base, well built, very highly upgraded with good shielding and stuff like that, that could last for an incredibly long period of time before there's any actual change. What happens when you find valuable resources on someone else's land? It's a good question. That will be up to how the landlord sets up their land governance rules. They can force X amount of the resources that are mined on their land to be given to them. Can you sum up the types of resources we would find at a land and hint to what type of lands are more likely to be found in regards to what they are? Should we check scientific maps on the web? Yes, you should check scientific maps on the web, because that's what we're doing when we're deciding these things. It hasn't been decided exactly yet, so oddly enough, your best source are those scientific maps you'll find online. Next question, will there be a central station lander space where players can mingle? Eventually, yes. However, the initial plans is to get everyone out and just surviving on their lands. That's kind of the first step. We want to get as many people experiencing that gameplay and giving feedback as possible. In the lore of Mars 4, which you'll actually learn about in Mars 1, in the intro to Mars 1, there is a station that people go through before they arrive on the surface of Mars. Can we set airlock doors to close automatically, or can you only open one door if the other is closed? Also, do larger rooms take more time to be pressurized? Yes, larger rooms do take more time to be pressurized, and as I explained earlier, the time a room is being pressurized burns a lot more energy than maintaining the pressurization. So the bigger the room, the more important that you properly use your airlocks. Yes, we will include some doors that are automated, but right now, and for Mars 1, the doors are manual, so it's up to the player to open one, enter, close it behind him, and then open the next one. So it's basically, for Mars 1 at least, it will be on the players to use proper airlock protocol. Cheers, guys. Have a good evening. Hope everyone has a great weekend, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.